In our life, we have 3 boys. They've always been very active, involved in sports. Nick has always been a happy child that's been involved in sports and activities. He's been physically active his whole life.
I'd be waking up and going to a practice, going to a game, going to some shoot around.
This past summer, he was the quarterback on the football team. He was a starter on the basketball team and the baseball team. So often during the summers, we split up. And my wife goes with one of my sons to a sporting event, I go to the other. And this particularly Saturday morning, I was heading to Monmouth College to watch Nick play in a summer basketball tournament.
Our game got kind of moved up a little bit, so we had to just get there and barely warm up.
He describes that he had kind of a darkening of his vision, chest palpitations, and significant pain.
I could barely see, and I'm pretty sure I was breathing fast, and then eventually I just got to where I couldn't see anything. That's when I just don't remember anything.
My phone rang, and I normally don't answer the phone, but I happened to look down and I didn't recognize the phone number, and so I answered the call. It was Darren Mueller. He said, Nick is, we just started and he just collapsed. My thought was, oh my gosh, he can't die today. I mean, he's a healthy kid.
And I think he went down on one cord as they described it, and his coach saw him, ran to him, but then also there was this woman, she was wonderful, and I don't know her name, but she was on another court, and she was a parent who had recently been recertified or retrained in CPR and life-saving techniques.
What I saw on the court, on Nick's court, was the game had stopped, no one was playing, all of the players had left the court, and Nick was down, and Bob was doing compressions.
As I see him go down, I start to motion out of my chair, and I'm thinking he got hit in the head with an elbow or something like that. I'm thinking he might have got knocked unconscious. As I reach for my phone, Nick stops moving, and I can tell he takes his last breath, and his body goes silent. And I knew that wasn't what I was looking at. Immediately I thought, this kid just went into arrest.
So I stood up from the bleachers because the first thing that came to my mind is, I'm CPR trained. He should not be by himself. I was thinking, Bob, he should not be doing that by himself. So I stood up and stepped off the bleachers and was headed that direction. And then Marty was sitting in a lawn chair next to the bleachers, and he was getting up at the same time, and we both took off running.
I think the first thing I did was look at his pupils, and I checked his pulse, his carotid pulse. I noticed there wasn't any. Bob was already doing compressions, so we stopped and I gave him 2 quick breaths, and then Bob continued to do CPR.
As soon as the AED shows up, I'd start taking the pads off. Our ultimate goal was to get the shock, because that's what would change Nick's heart the most.
And when he came back, it's like, I almost like somebody startled him out of a sleep, a deep sleep. That's what he looked like. And the sense of relief washed over me like you can't believe.
The quality of that CPR, without that, we wouldn't have had the same outcome. We wouldn't be talking about this right now.
My heart stopped on the Saturday, and I think I had the surgery on maybe the Wednesday or the Thursday of that week. Well, they just told me it could act as a pacemaker or as a defibrillator, and if I ever ran into any problems, it would be able to save me.
With that, there are many life changes for Nick. It's hard to hear, you won't be able to do this or this or this. Dr. Albaro and Dr. Chan also were very understanding that this is very hard for a young person and a family to experience this and then to deal with the changes.
Life presents us with moments like these that are, suddenly everything changes, and it definitely did for Nick. At the time he was faced with that challenge, there were people present who had the experience and the training to take the right action at the right moment with the right equipment, and they definitely made a difference. They saved his life.
So how does the Heart Association affect my work every day here? Well, all the advances, all the science that we have can be pointed back as an origin because of Heart Association in some part supporting a scientist saying, you know what, I think that's a problem. We need to understand that better, so therefore, let's investigate that. But I need financial support. and the Heart Association has been there to help with that.
Fundraising is really important. I mean, it's bottom line. We wouldn't be anywhere if we didn't have the opportunities to actually further and progress the kind of development. One of our colleagues right now is doing 3D model hearts, and you always have to have, first of all, the drive, the interest, somebody who's got a passion, and I think that's what the AHA has, is they have a passion, and they've seen patients, and we've seen patients, and it's just a nice partnership to really further that along, and in the end, it's all about patient care. Tomorrow is why.
Having Nick with us today is my why.
Now that I've been saved, like just making something great out of my life and being able to help save someone else, and like people saved me that day.
I had Nick's life in my hands. I just felt like I was doing something that I was trained to do.
You know, you always wonder, will I be able to do this even though I've had the training? But it was one of those things that I'm so thankful I did have that training.
Why do we do what we do? Why do I get up early in the morning, come into the hospital, and come to work and see potentially sad situations? The reason is the fact that I think I have an opportunity that's been given to me that will make an impact in someone's life. I can say that for all of my colleagues that I work with here at Children's Hospital of Illinois, here at OSF, that we are here for our patients and for our families. That's all the why we need to come to work every day.